Hi, my name is Drew Leverd, and I'm with the Randolph County YMCA, and today we're going to be talking about proper form and technique. So when you're doing exercise, especially when you're talking about weight training, but it could be other exercises such as cardio, even flexibility training. There's a lot of different types of exercise, but you want to make sure that you're doing it correctly because if you do it correctly, you'll be able to get the most benefit, you'll gain the most strength and endurance, and you'll also avoid injuries, or you'll make it a lot less likely that you'll get injured in the process of doing whatever exercise it is, because that's really going to be a big setback to your training program. So you definitely want to avoid injuries and get the most benefit out of the exercise you're doing. So that's why we're going to talk about that today. So to start out with, it seems um, like it's kind of an unusual place to start, but I think it's important to kind of know what the drawbacks are of using improper form. So a few examples of the drawbacks for improper form are muscle strains, tendonitis, fractures, muscle tear, hernia, back injuries, rotator cuff injuries, dislocation, knee injuries. All of these things are definitely things I think pretty much everyone wants to avoid. Um, so like I said previously, there's a lot of things um, that can go wrong if you're not doing the form correctly, especially if you're loading up with lots of weight. So you just want to make sure that you're being careful, um, making sure you're doing things correctly, but also not overdoing it with too much weight or too high of intensity, whatever type of workout you may be doing. So we want to avoid these issues, and using proper form will definitely help. So next we're going to get into what type of form you should be using while you're exercising. So it's very important that you engage your core. So you want to make sure you brace your core muscles to support your spine. A strong core stabilizes your movements and protects your lower back. So a lot of the movements that you could be doing, especially again with weight training, if you're not using proper form, or if you're maybe trying to do more weight than you should be, you're going to try to utilize that lower back, maybe start rocking with your lower back um, and using those muscles. Well, that's going to be a high risk for injury if you do that. So you want to make sure you keep your core muscles tight, especially your abdominals, even your glutes. Squeeze your abs and glutes. That will keep your body in a good position. Make sure that you're not overusing your lower back muscles, because those are very susceptible to injury. So you just want to make sure you keep glutes and core tight, your abdominals, um, and that will really help you stay in good form, get a good strength training workout, as well as help prevent injury. You also want to make sure you're going through the full range of motion. So when you're performing exercises through the full range of motion, you're getting the most benefit. You're getting a little bit of flexibility training, but you're also be able to move in a strength in the full range of motion. Sometimes people will do lifts and they'll only do partial range of motion, and they can be very strong in that limited range of motion, but it's not really all that helpful, especially when you're trying to use it uh, outside of the weight room and trying to lift things in a more practical way, because you're going to need to have that full range of motion to really be effective with your strength. So full range of motion is very important, and avoiding using momentum to complete repetitions. So that goes back to like rocking or maybe going really fast with your reps, and you kind of use the momentum to get the weight up rather than using your muscles. So ideally, you want to be using your muscles to lift the weights, because that's how you're going to get stronger. The momentum, I mean, maybe it will make it so you can do more weight or more repetitions, but your muscles aren't really getting the benefit that way. So you want to make sure you avoid momentum, keep the weight under control. You also want to make sure you coordinate your breathing with the movements. So typically you would exhale during the exertion phase when you're lifting the weight, and inhale when you're relaxing, when the weight is being lowered and you're not actively pushing the weight up. So this is really important because it gets oxygen to your muscles. If you're holding your breath or just not breathing in the order right here that it says, you may not get a proper amount of oxygen into your muscles. It's going to make it harder to perform the lift. So that's just going to make it, your performance will decrease, and there's just a lot of benefits that can happen when you're breathing correctly, when you're lifting weights. Your body's just going to perform a lot better that way. You want to make sure that you always warm up before you get going. Your muscles really need to get the blood flowing before you do anything too intense. That could be doing jumping jacks, high knees, different things like that. Just walking on the treadmill, or if you have a track, walking the track, or doing a jog, different things like that. Something low intensity, but get the blood flowing. And then you want to finish with a cool down. So especially if you're doing a cardio workout, you want to make sure that your heart rate comes down. And this will help prevent muscle soreness, and it will just kind of help your body get back to homeostasis, kind of more of a neutral state. And also, after your cool down, I would recommend doing some static stretching, which is most people would consider that just stretching, but static is when you're doing stretches that you're like putting your arm across your body and holding it for 30 seconds, or like reaching down, touch your toes, hold for 30 seconds, things like that. You want to do that after your cool down as well, because your muscles will still be a little bit warm and still will be stretching pretty well, but you will have had time to catch your breath, let your heart rate come down. And the last thing is body alignment. You want to ensure your body is aligned correctly. So an example of this would be making sure your knees don't cave inward while you're doing squats or lunges. If you do that, it can put a lot of pressure on your knees, make your knees not feel very good. It could even lead to more serious injuries if you're really let them go inward a lot, or if you're doing a lot of weight. So you want to make sure that you keep your knees going forward rather than caving inward. That's just one example. There's lots of different things that you want to make sure your body's in alignment while you're lifting. And you want to keep your back in a neutral position with most exercise, with a natural curve in your spine. So keeping that neutral back is really important. I know we've talked about that a little bit in this presentation already, but if you get that back in a good neutral position, everything else is going to follow suit primarily. I mean, you got to think about some other areas of your body as well. But if you start there, most likely the rest of the body is going to follow suit. And that will really help you perform well and avoid injuries. So I hope this presentation was helpful, and really we were able to dive into why proper form and technique is so important. I hope you guys will be able to utilize this the next time you work out, and that you'll be able to perform at a high level and avoid injury. Thank you. Have a great day.